Vanishing Echoes. The night was unnaturally silent in the small town of Ravenwood, Pennsylvania. Streetlights flickered, casting long shadows over the empty streets, and the crisp autumn air carried the faint scent of damp leaves and forgotten memories. Emily Parker, a young woman of 24, had always loved walking through the quiet avenues after her late-night shifts at the local bookstore. But on this night, something felt different, something she could not place. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a message from her sister, Claire. "Don't be late, Mum's worried." Emily smiled faintly, typing back quickly, unaware that these would be her last words to anyone she loved. As she walked past the abandoned warehouse near the outskirts of town, a sense of unease prickled her skin. The warehouse, long condemned and rumored to be haunted, had always seemed ominous, but tonight it appeared alive, as if breathing in the shadows themselves. She heard footsteps behind her, faint and rhythmic. Turning, she saw nothing but the empty street. A laugh, hollow and distant, echoed from somewhere deep within the building. Emily's heart thumped loud against her ribcage. Something instinctively told her to run, but a strange force, part curiosity, part fear, drew her closer to the warehouse doors. The air inside was colder than the night outside, carrying a metallic tang that made her stomach churn. Shadows danced across the walls, shifting like living things. And then she saw it, a figure standing in the far corner, obscured by darkness, watching her. "Hello?" Emily's voice trembled. The figure didn't move. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, it vanished. The floorboards creaked beneath her feet as she took a cautious step forward, the door slamming shut behind her with a deafening bang. Panic surged, and she pounded against the door, but it wouldn't budge. Outside, her absence was noticed quickly. Claire called, then called again, worry sharpening with each unanswered ring. Hours passed. The town's modest police force combed the streets, shining flashlights into the empty alleys and abandoned buildings. But there was no sign of Emily. Only the echo of a whisper carried on the cold wind. "She's gone." Days turned into nights, and nights bled into weeks. Posters went up in every corner of Ravenwood. "Have you seen Emily Parker?" The town held its collective breath, a community united by fear and hope. Her family's anguish was palpable. Claire refused to leave the town, organizing searches, speaking to anyone who might have seen a glimpse of her sister. Meanwhile, Emily's world had shifted entirely. She awoke in a room lit by a dim, flickering light, the walls lined with old, peeling wallpaper and photographs of people she did not recognize. Her hands were free, but the door was locked. She remembered the figure, and now it became clear. She wasn't alone. Someone or something had brought her here, and it was waiting. Time blurred. Days stretched into nights with no distinction. The only sound, the distant dripping of water and the occasional creak of floorboards. Emily wandered the room, tracing the cracks in the wall with her fingertips, trying to piece together a pattern, some clue, some escape. The photographs on the walls began to form a story, a history of disappearances in Ravenwood, spanning decades, each victim never found, each face staring down from the yellowed pages of memory. And in the center there was a space, empty, waiting for her photograph to complete the puzzle. Outside, the town refused to give up. Volunteers patrolled the forest, the abandoned rail lines, the banks of the slow-moving river. News crews arrived, broadcasting Emily's disappearance far beyond the confines of Ravenwood. Each day brought fresh leads. Each night brought renewed fear. But Emily's voice, trapped behind locked doors, could not reach them. Then on a particularly cold night she heard it, the same hollow laugh, softer this time, closer, as if it were beckoning her. Summoning every ounce of courage, Emily followed the sound to a hidden doorway behind a large, moth-eaten curtain. Beyond it was a narrow staircase descending into darkness. With nothing to lose, she climbed down, her hands brushing against the cold stone walls, each step echoing in the silence. At the bottom, She found herself in a vast underground chamber. The air was thick, heavy with dust and memory. Shadows shifted along the walls, forming shapes, faces, hands, eyes that seemed to follow her every movement. In the center of the room was a pool of water, black and still. She leaned closer and glimpsed her reflection, but something was wrong. Behind her, in the water's reflection, a shadow loomed, impossibly tall, impossibly still. Emily screamed, but no sound escaped the chamber. The figure emerged, finally visible in the dim light. A man, tall and gaunt, with eyes hollow and endless, stepped forward. And then, in a voice both distant and intimate, he spoke. "You are part of us now, but do not fear, your story will live on." The next morning, Claire found a single photograph at the entrance of the warehouse. Emily, smiling faintly, holding a candle in the darkness, but the photograph felt wrong. Too vivid, too alive, as if it were more than just paper. And though the town searched for Emily for years, she was never seen again. Yet the legend of her disappearance grew, whispered among children and adults alike. At night, when the wind howled through Ravenwood, some claimed to hear her footsteps, soft and hesitant, along the empty streets. A reminder that even in loss, memory persists, and that those we love are never truly gone if we remember them. In the end, Emily Parker vanished from the world, but her echo remained, a haunting, bittersweet presence that touched everyone who had known her and even those who hadn't. And in that echo there was sorrow, yes, but also a strange, aching beauty, the proof that love and memory endure even in the darkest of nights.